This is K-Pop Sunday, brought to you by K-Pop Sunbaes before you have to go back to work on Monday. We are your hosts, Old R,
Min,
and JR.
Hello! Welcome to episode 32, aka season 2, episode 2, also known as Sechskies, part 2. Today is a continuation about Sechskies, the group that I will continue to pronounce their name wrong, because I'm a heathen. I guess. This time we're gonna talk about the very late 90s to the millennia change and see what they did. So let's just keep on moving with 1999.
So, the start of 1999 comes, and that February, they toured around Korea, starting in Ulsan and ending with a 3-day stint in Seoul. Their fans enjoyed this, but they had something else to look forward to just a month later. On March 1st, the Sechkies live album came out. It was primarily just live versions of their greatest hits, but it also had 2 additional songs that were performed during the tour.
The solo songs were Kang Soo-hoon's My Love, and Jaejin also had a solo song, which was named Betty, which turns out to be a cover of Blink's 1996 song, Betty. Interestingly enough, for the live performances, Jaejin was on stage with Click B, another beloved first-generation group who had yet to debut at this point, which is really cool. There are links to videos in our script if you want to see that. Strange things come to light when you do research. And there are a couple of weird things surrounding this particular live album because after Sechskies joined YG Entertainment, they basically added most of their albums to playlists on their YouTube channels. This album did not get any. And also, you can't actually listen to this live album on a Naver or a Melon, and on most streaming sites like Genie, iTunes, Spotify, Flow, it's not even there. On the aforementioned Naver and Melon, there's no lyrics listed with this live album, which might sound like a why would you care, but this is a thing that Naver and Melon does for majority of albums on their lists. So that's weird. And if you try to look up the album on Bugs, when you try to click on it, all it says is this album cannot be played at the request of rights holders. This album cannot be downloaded at the request of the rights holders. But if you want to listen to the full album, you can find it on YouTube. Some people have rights over this thing, and it is strange. But if you want to watch all of these videos from this live concert, you can look in our Google Docs. There will be links, but a lot of these videos are re-uploads by fans, so they might get copyrighted and just disappear off the internet again.
But that's not the strangest album Sechskies did. On April 26th, they released 1020 Mix. It had 30 tracks that were mainly a mix of their own stuff and Euro dance tracks. They are listed as being the only artists on the album, which means that at one point, someone decided that Sechskies should do a cover of Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. And it's possible that one of the reasons why this album also isn't listed with any official Sechskies YouTube playlists and that you cannot hear it online either is because of that. It is also not listed on Melon, Bugs, Genie, iTunes, Spotify, or Flow. So if you happen to run across a physical copy of it, just know that it's definitely a rare and obscure find.
After a few months of being pretty quiet, Sechkies came back with their 4th album on September 9th called Come Back. It had 18 tracks, with 4 of them being remixes. Come Back was the title song and is still one of their most popular tracks, yet, interestingly enough, it didn't have a music video. Although, if you listen to the last episode, you would know that that's not too surprising because they had a few songs before this that also did not get music videos. The song itself is a high-energy dance track and basically a sad love song with lyrics like, "My sad love that cuts through the wind, please let me fall asleep next to you forever." It's very angsty, we know. The live performances were also very impressive, not only due to the group's dancing, but also due to the fan chant that perfectly fit with the song, as though the beginning was designed with the fan chant in mind. It's genuinely one of the best in the history of K-pop, and we highly recommend that you go and watch the live performance for that.
But there were actually 2 songs from Comeback that did get music videos. One of them being Hunch, a ballad track all about a guy fantasizing about a girl and how they could have a really good future together. The music video itself features Sechskies members dressed in very handsome and flattering suits, love them suit. And Yi-young even dances with a cane. There's also a story that goes on in the music video that shows lovers in a fancy masquerade. It's a bit weird, but hey, it's pretty. You gotta give it that, it's pretty. The last song on the album that got a music video was Summer in Love, a high-intensity dance song about being in love during the summer, as the name might suggest. But it even contains how they break up and the guy is always gonna try to come back to the girl. The song itself is great, but the music video is wild. The story it shows is basically one where Jiwon and Sunghoon are having a dream that they're both trying to be with two girls, but the rest of the Sechskies separately tries to split them up. There's a lot that goes around during it, and at one point they even go into a golf cart chase. This is one that you just kind of have to see. Just go watch it, please, for me.
Sechskies are part of the early years of the Hallyu Wave, and here's two examples of their role in spreading K-pop to audiences outside of South Korea. They performed in China on November 30th at a festival that was co-hosted between KBS, which is a massive broadcasting company in Korea, and CCTV, which is a massive broadcasting company in China. Then, they performed in North Korea on December 5th. As it's uncommon for K-pop groups to perform in North Korea, this is a big deal. Both of these events are impressive because Korean idols were starting to perform abroad during this time. However, even today, it's still uncommon for a K-pop idol group to perform in North Korea.
After all their hard work, they wrapped up 1999 on a high note. In December, they won a Golden Disc Bonsang for Comeback. And then shortly after, they also won a Daesang at the Seoul Music Awards. As we've said before, this was a big year, but 2000 would also be an important one for the group. To start, they celebrated their 1000th day as a group on January 12th. If you're new to K-pop or Korean culture in general, on top of yearly anniversaries, like you may be familiar with, day anniversaries are celebrated too. However, that was quickly followed up by the news that they planned on disbanding a few months later on May 18th.
That announcement was shocking to fans as it seemed like they were at the top of their careers. The actual reasons why they decided to disband varies, but still came to the same conclusion. According to Jiwon, who is once again the leader of the group, they wanted to go out on a high note. However, Jaejin has said that they just wanted to change companies. And unfortunately, Jaejin was the only member who was fully against disbandment.
So eventually, May rolled around, and on May 20th, the 2000 Dream concert happened. And this is where Sechskies held their goodbye performance. This year's Dream concert was held at Jamsil Stadium, and it's a big stadium, and a lot of their fans were very, very upset about this. And you might have heard about K-pop fans getting into physical fights and stuff like that back in the day. Yeah, that did happen, but there were also riots. And that was a thing that happened after this concert because none of their fans were ready to give up Sechskies. Nobody actually ended up being formally charged. The people that did the riot were very young. Not long after the Dream concert, though, Sechskies released the album Blue Note, which is basically a best of album because they really wanted to end the group on a high note, thus ending it on a blue note. And they just wanted to give the fans a proper goodbye.
So off of that album, there is a song called Thanks, and that is their goodbye song to their fans. The lyrics were about them telling their fans that they've got to let go, but that the members of Sechkies would still love them very much. The track ends with this line, "Don't be sad, I wish you happiness." This track also had a music video that showed clips from the press conference announcing their disbandment, as well as the process of recording Sechkies' last song.
The last 2 years of Sechkies was more about recognition, and although they say they left on a high note, it was definitely also a blue note because the members and the fans were sad it had to happen. After disbandment, the members went on to do solo work, but luckily, they were reunited in 2016 and are still active today under YG Entertainment. So, why did a group that disbanded over a decade suddenly come back together? Well, it was because of Infinity Challenge. The show not only showed how much the members wanted to reunite, but their fans as well. This wasn't just positive for Sechskies. The news of them getting back together and signing under a new company was watched by a lot of other disbanded first-generation groups with awe. It actually led to other groups such as HOT thinking that it was possible for them as well. At the time, when a lot of first-generation groups broke up, the idea of them getting back together, let alone after such a long time, seemed like it couldn't happen. Yet, with Sechskies taking the plunge, it really influenced others to try and do it as well. Even if it was only for just one song or one concert, that was still a good thing. But now I want to talk about the music they made since reuniting. The first song they released was 3 Words, which was a single they released on October 7th, 2016. This was the first song that they sang that was without member Jeong, who decided not to return to the group, although he still supported them. The song was about lovers reuniting and was fitting as a reunion song for the group and their fans. It was produced and written by Tableau of Epic High. 2 months later, on December 1st, they released 2016 Re-Album, which was comprised of updated versions of the most popular tracks of Sechskies' original discography. One of the tracks was Couple, which also received a music video that is quite wholesome as it shows each of the members being in love. The way it was promoted really makes it a masterclass for how to promote a group that is older but shouldn't be treated as if they're old. On April 28th, 2017, they released the 20th anniversary album. While this one had a lot of their softer classic hits, it also had 3 Words and 2 new tracks, Be Well and Sad Song. As of recording this episode, this would be the last album to reference their original work. A few months later, on September 21st, 2017, they released the album Another Light with the title track Something Special. Unfortunately, this would be the last album Kang Sung-hoon would release with Sechskies after a scandal and its fallout led to his official departure from the group and YG Entertainment on December 31st, 2018. The group didn't make a comeback as 4 members until January 28th, 2020 with their first mini-album, All For You, which has a title track with the same name, which leads us to the beginning of this year on February 5th when they did a collaboration with Yoo Hyo for the track Don't Look Back. As of recording this episode, that is their most current release and the group is still active. They are even one of the few first-generation groups that have their own light stick. This year marks their 24th anniversary since debut, and we wish them many more years to come. Now, let's move on to the song of the day.
For today's song of the day, we are going back to the past. Not a whole 24 years, but actually a good 20 years, because today, July 11th, 2001, Wiz released our first and most likely only album, Presents. Now, Wiz was a 4-member a cappella boy group, and the title track of the album is called Promise. And it's such a hilariously fun song. It sounds a whole lot like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. It sounds a lot like a Max Martin song. He's the dude that composed a lot of early 2000s pop music. It sounds like something he could have made. And it's just wonderful. It has the backup dancers, does a great job. The vocalists are surprisingly good. They have some questionable English lyrics like, I don't want to buy, I want you back. It's just wonderful. You should go listen to it. There isn't a whole lot of clips of this song on YouTube. There isn't a music video. There is like 2 live stages of it, but it's still worth a watch. Let's move on to trivia.
So last time I asked if you knew what Jae-duck and Suwon called their fans who loved them as the duo Jaywalk. Min guessed Crossroads and JR guessed Jaywalkers, which I really like the idea of their fans being called Jaywalkers because I like the idea of their fans like jaywalking with them, like they're following. While that would be a very cute idea, that's not the actual one they went with. Instead, they went with the name Police. Yes, there is a fandom called the Police. I am not kidding.
We have the police, we have armies.
Yeah.
Do we have the navy?
We
military? Convicts?
Convict.
Oh my god.
Imagine naming like your fans. Oh look, the convicts are here.
That would be great.
Oh, I'm a convict.
so
oh really?
bad.
I'm an army.
That would create so many misunderstandings.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're called. That's actually not a joke. That they are called the Police, which kind of means that they're kind of against jaywalk. But I think I will just stick to calling fans of them Yellowkies. It's not very common that you will hear about them being referred to as the Police, to be fair. So, even if you didn't want to know that trivia, now you know. And you can say, wow, that's not the best fandom name I've ever heard of.
Babies is still, feelings-wise, worse. I still don't like babies. Never gonna vibe with babies.
I wish they'd, with BAP, that's, I love BAP, but that was...
They could have had criminals, juveniles. Would have fit.
Yeah, it didn't really fit their image.
Not even because, like, they had, like, the Matokis as, like, their image.
That could have been so cool if they did something with... Man, they still have the best mascot.
The best use of one, too. However, that wraps up this episode, so let's move on to ending it.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, then please make sure to rate, subscribe, follow, and tell your friends about us. If you want to interact with us or just see more of our content, then you can follow us on Twitter at Kpop Sunbaes or on our other social media platforms, which will be in the description. Also, don't forget that our next episode comes out on July 18th. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Annyeong.